This is a journal that I've recently created. I'm still working on it. I've used the front and back covers from the mixed media paper that I purchased, and I've started collaging things. I always save my old art. If I don't like it, I'll tear it up and use little pieces of it. Experimenting on my computer a little bit, some eyes. So I'm just kind of building layers till I get the front cover made. The inside, again, isn't done, but it's just a start. And then I've made 3 little signatures, and so I thought I'd show you some things that I've been working on with some of my students. This one, I was trying to limit my color palette and keep it simple, so we chose 3 different colors and then chose to build layers and layers and layers. And then again, this is reflecting on the situation we're in now with the pandemic, and then coming up with a quote: "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven." So I took the song lyrics as well and wrote some of those out, but then also started writing some of my own thoughts and feelings. But again, building layers, and it's about being in the moment and just thinking about what I'm focusing on and not about everything else. So I'm seeing words here like celebrate, so celebrate the good. And that's a thing that is very positive about visual journaling, is being grateful, showing gratitude. And when you start doing things like that, all the negative things seem to be not as huge in your life. A teen was out and she wanted to work on just using a few supplies, but color mixing. And so she liked to doodle and do Zentangles. So hers didn't look anything like mine. In fact, she started drawing Alice in Wonderland characters, where I wanted to stick with more nature. And using like gel pens and dip pens and ink. And this one, again, I start with a prompt. So this one was I am, and so we listed a bunch of adjectives of things that we are, and trying to be being focused on ourselves in a positive way instead of negative, doing a bunch of mixed layers over top, and then I decided to add person and some flowers, and then I took some of those words that were in the background and brought them forward. I'm still not sure if this page is done, and that's okay. Sometimes pages get done years later or not at all. And there's an interesting quote that I learned from Maureen Newton, and I know it's a famous artist, but she always says, and she's from Inspire Cafe and Gallery, art ends in interesting places. And so that's what I always think about. One of the teens that was out, her word for the day was confused. And she wanted to just do writing. So I decided confused was another word for me too, because things were starting to shut down again. And I had all kinds of questions and contradictions. And so, again, nothing fancy, but it helped me write down what I was thinking. And also these pages were also started with teenagers, and they, again, were just wanting to do color wash and not a bunch of layers. And so we decided to take a pen or dip pen and draw lines around the marks of the watercolor paper or water paint left, and then kind of went with the flow. And so I didn't really know where this was going, just put down a bunch of words that were on my mind, and then came up with this kind of interesting character. And then another teen was out, and she wanted to focus on watercolor painting and sunsets. So we did wet on wet and wet on dry techniques, and then did some doodling. And I saw an image of an owl in here, and that's what I decided to go with. I never usually start with an intention about, I'm going to make a picture about whatever. It's kind of how I feel and what comes up while I'm working, or a memory or something like that. And then I thought this was sort of relevant to today's time. The more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. And it's a poem that I used to use with my grade ones in grade when we studied owls. I thought it was very relevant to a lot of people nowadays. This is starting, again, we didn't use a lot of layering or like mixed media papers and that kind of thing, but we did use lots of different colors. Again, try to keep the color scheme simple. So I limited it to pink or magenta and blue, and then you can make purples from that. And then the teen that was out, she wanted to work on making some secret pockets. I showed her some junk journaling. So I took a picture, or actually this wasn't a teen, this was a young girl that was out. And I took a picture of her petting the horses and then tucked it in there as a special memory of that day together. And then, like I said, I'm always working on faces, so this is what I decided to do on this page again. And some more faces that we worked on, and this was just using some simple strokes. I love this little girl right here. She's so cute. And this was mixed media, starting with collaging and then building layers. And again, I decided I was going to just use a real simple color scheme. In fact, use a color scheme that I normally don't use. And that's what this is all about, is about having the freedom to choose what I put in my book and what colors I choose to use. And just finally decide, I'm going to come up with my own little style. And did a little drawing and glued that in. Actually, I did that on. And then again, one of the teens wanted to work on faces and just simple brush strokes and simple pen strokes and just using ink. And then we did some carrot people. This one is a work in progress and I'm not happy with it, but I do like this part. So maybe what I'll do is I will cover up certain parts and build upon this, but it's a first layer. And this was, again, playing, so it's just a bunch of collaging. Teen that was out, she was feeling abandoned that day, and so that was her word. I took a photograph of her in the position to show how she was feeling, and I demonstrated with her, as she drew, I did this. And again, this is not finished, but it's powerful. Sometimes just leaving it really simple. Abandoned. So just some more examples. This one is really fun, and this was just let go. And it didn't have a lot of layers to start with, but you're building your layers as you go. And using collage tissue paper is a really good tool to use. And again, limited paint palette, black, red, and white. And this was just about a movie I saw about girls' equality rights and things about the social media. And one of my favorites so far. Wake up and see what's going on. And here's another one, again working with mixed media and focusing on faces, different pen strokes, just having fun and scribbling and moving, and then finally deciding at the end what it's about. And I thought, it's time. It's time for a lot of things now. And this is a little bit different than all the others, and this was just using pen and ink and watercolor, one color blue, but again you get purple, blue, and light blue and dark blue, and working with contrast, light against dark, using bubble wrap. And again, there's no journaling on here, and I didn't want to journal that day. And it's my journal, so I can decide what I want to put in it. Some more media, and the whole inspiration for this was maps and the designs in the maps, and then I built up on with the layers using, so there's little boxes, rectangles and squares, so that's what I use, rectangles and squares here. And there were lots of lines leading to a point, so I used pointy things, arrows, stars, then asked some questions about some things that are going on in my mind. Oh, I used some old book pages and some old music notes. I circled parts to save them. Oh, here's another one. I thought, well, if this worked in blue, let's try it in green. Again, green is a color I find hard mixing, and so That's what I did on here. As you can see, things, media from the other pages goes on it, and that's okay because it's not going up on the wall. Another fun collaging, working with contrast, thick and thin, big and little, overlapping, extensions, repeated patterns, journaling so nobody else could read on tissue paper, then gluing it down. This is a fun one, making Picasso faces. It's a little game that I have, and it shows you different ideas, and then you can develop personalities and characteristics. And here's one I'm working on right now. It has a little door in it.